Hey, gang, Dominic Izzo, host of the Rants of Izzo show here on Spreely TV, reminding you, watch my friend Matt Spear on the DUM Show daily as well here on Spreely TV. You're going to get talk, news, trending politics, all social issues, everything entertaining and engaging and educational. Do it. Watch it. The DUM Show, Spreely TV, home of free speech. Speak freely here at Spreely. Pretty damn cool. Spreely TV and the DUM Show.
It's Red Friday, RED Friday, which stands for Remember Everyone Deployed. A movement designed to honor veterans and deployed U.S. troops by wearing a red shirt every Friday. As simple as that may be, Red Friday is a great way to back those who serve our country. Go to DUMShow.com and search for Red Friday to get your red on.
Being so confused, you feel like you're more f***ed up than the lies on the evening news. Well, just step right in. We can talk about it all as friends. And if you want, we can hug and kiss and make up for the party ends. Agree or disagree.
Got some kinks to work out there. I created some new cells for the morning, and I forgot to loop the video, so it would, or I forgot to turn off the loop video feature, so it did that and just looped. Sorry. What a night last night. My Lord. What a What a night. So I woke up this morning and I immediately reflect on the last night's show. And reflected on last night's show. And sorry, that was uncomfortable in the back. I like to critique myself and go back and listen. And, it's been a while since I had a conversation that went like it did last night. And this used to happen on the DUM Show all the time. And what I find myself doing is something that I don't enjoy doing, which is breaking people down who are conservatives. But I really don't care if you're a conservative or a liberal. If you lie, you're going to get called out. I don't care what your political ideology is. There is a code well above my political ideology. There is a code well above my religious affiliations. There's a code above my my friendships, and really, there's family that comes first and foremost in every situation, and then there is a code I live by where you do not lie simply to garner notoriety, or you don't lie to garner attention. And if you do, you should be called out for it. I don't know. It's the way I've always been. It's the way I've been built. That's the way my father raised me. That's the way, I've carried myself throughout life is you don't lie and you don't bullshit. And if you do, you're held accountable for it. I don't think that's a hard way to live your life. There's other people who think that lying is okay. And you can stretch the truth and simply say, well, that's my opinion. No, it's not an opinion. It's a lie. And I don't condone it. I don't tolerate it. I don't believe in it. I don't allow on this show, and I never have for 3.5 years, for people to say that's my opinion and then proceed that or follow up with that a comment of, and it's fact. No, it's not. When you do that, then you've got a problem. So this is the recap of what happened last night, and it's important to talk about it before we get into it today. Timothy says, I can't stand those computer simulation posts that look real. What are you talking, like artificial intelligence? Which one are you talking about, Timothy? Which one? So I understand. I mean, is it something that I did? So, is it the one where, just AI? Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. Like I do it on my cover sometimes because it's funny, like the Superman one. What's funny is the Red Friday one is all designed by me, but the person speaking is an AI voice, and you can't tell. And then my British intro one of the Don't Unfriend Me show is actually a real Brit from overseas. And because you can't be a legitimate podcast without a British guy or girl talking. Anyway, so what happened last night is we started going down the annals of history in regards to January 6th, right? And I have tackled. Oh, thanks, Lee. Appreciate your super chat. That's very nice. That is awesome. And that's up. Well, $49.99. Appreciate you, Lee. Thank you so much. $50 from Lee Houston. Happy birthday. You cantankerous curmudgeon. Breakfast is on me. Well, that will definitely be steak and eggs. Thank you for the birthday wishes, and thank you for the donation. I've heard that those there is a plot and a clever ruse by the moderators and a few of the people to expose my birthday. Well, there it is. It is my birthday. Yes, that is correct. 50 years old, folks. 50 years old. 50 push-ups for 50. Already done this morning, so feeling good. Do me a favor, if you can. It's a good reminder. You can go to thedumshow.com and donate, or you can go to linktapgo/thedumshow right now. Linktapgo/thedumshow. Moderators will put it in chat. And you can actually tip the show if you want to, donate to the show, and that's how we survive. And that's enough of that. Thank you. Thank you for the happy birthdays. Okay. Thank you. Thank you all. Yep. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the happy birthdays. Yes. Happy birthday. Thank you. Yes. Happy birthday. Okay. Thank you. Yep. Okay. All right. 50. All right. So thank you for all people who are going to post. Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you, James. Appreciate it. Preemptive thank you to everybody who's going to say happy birthday. Okay. This is why I don't tell anyone when my birthday is. So when we talk about J6, everyone knows my opinion. My opinion is the following, just so I can state it clearly so people don't get all butthurt. Here it is. There were many different situations that took place on J6. There was a criminal element to J6. There was an innocent bystander element to J6. And there were people who actively contributed to the chaos, who got involved, who deserved to be held accountable. There was a clear criminal intent by some people to take hostages, to take Nancy Pelosi or take certain Schumer or AOC or whatever. That's where the zip ties come from. That's what the automatic weapons back in the hotel room in Virginia were for. That's what the text between the Proud Boys and a lot of the leaders of these movements and the Oath Keepers said, and it was proven in court. You can either agree with that or disagree with that. I could give a rat's ass what you believe. I only care about what the facts are. Okay? So there is a very small element that was intending to do that. And a lot of those people were on the stairs and tried to break in, threatened 3 security guards, said, "We're not here for you," broke it down, smashed motorcycle helmets into the glass that was barricaded by doors, were locked, had reinforced wire, glass wire, and reinforced doors were being banged down. And Ashley Babbitt took the right side, went in with a man who had a gun drawn, continued to proceed in, and his orders were to kill on sight, shoot on sight anyone who eclipsed that door, because that was that person's standing order. I've stood guard plenty of times. I've had the same standing order, and so has anyone who has served in a defensive position or done operational security. Whether you agree with that or disagree with that, it doesn't matter. Those are the facts laid out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now that we've talked about that, that is a very small amount of people with the J6 situation. Now, let's go to the second part. People who were tied up, the 3,000 some odd people. Some of them stormed, some of them didn't, some of them walked through, some of them were let in, some of them were pepper sprayed, someone took flagpoles and bashed in officers' heads and smashed them into the door. A fire extinguisher supposedly was hit. There still is no video of that. I'm waiting to see it. But the other things happened. I know some of it was peaceful. Some people just went in and sat into the speaker's office. Some people went onto the dais and sat on the speaker's chair. Things happen. Paintings were destroyed, whatever. Things happened that were unacceptable. And more than likely, most of that, outside of the attacking the police officers and pepper spraying civilians to make them disperse, probably would fall into the misdemeanor category. Okay? Great. And then there were 57,000 people who didn't do shit. Pardon my French. They did nothing. They went there, they went to the rally, they listened to Trump, they did not storm, they did not do anything. Yes, I'm aware of Ray Epps. Yes, I'm aware of Antifa. Yes, I'm aware of supposedly the FBI plants. Yes, I'm aware. I've seen it all. I've dived into this. I was down there that night when I drove by from work. I did not take part in it, but I spoke to the National Guard. I spoke to a couple buddies in Marsac who were Secret Service assistants and were snipers on the roof that night. I am aware. I talked to 3 Capitol police officers. The overall overarching message were threefold. Here is the message to the Capitol Police. Let them in. They're not going to do anything. They're Republicans. They're Trump supporters. They don't riot. That was the first message. Second message was stand your ground at all costs. The third message was we don't know. Some people opened doors. Some people stood their ground. And some people had no idea what to do. But either way, it was a failure of epic proportions from the Capitol Police because the level of communication was horrible. Yes, I've went ahead and I've heard the rumors and all the bullshit about Trump requesting National Guardsmen. I saw the letter from Mark Meadows. He did not request. It was a stasis report. It was an update. Do you think ? There was not a formal request from the mayor of D.C. to go ahead and activate the National Guard, but the National Guard was on site. So for people to say that the National Guard wasn't there, they were there. The National Guard also slept in underground in parking lots in shitty conditions in the dead of winter in Washington, D.C. Not necessarily the best. You remember those images. The National Guard was there. Were the additional National Guardsmen, the supposed 10,000 that Donald Trump supposedly formally requested? No. J6, there is a crap ton here. And you cannot dissect it into it was either good or it was bad or it was indifferent because it was all three. All of it. Do I believe, here's a great question. Do I believe it was Trump's fault that this happened? Here's what you have to ask yourself. When you name a rally, Stop the Steal, people are going to go there with the intent that you are going to provide some sort of evidence, some sort of clarification, or some sort of leadership about stopping the steal, okay? I have spoken out against the stolen election since I started this podcast because the way that people say it is not accurate or indicative of what actually took place. And it frustrates me because there is an argument to be made that all of the states that started getting involved from Texas to Arkansas, Arizona, blah, 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 that started to do almost what would be a convention of states challenging the election based on the constitutionality. The thing that I said from the beginning, they started to wake up, but by that time it was too late. 64 court cases had gone by the wayside, and only one, which had absolutely nothing to do with the election processes, Donald Trump won, and the rest of them failed because the whole Dominion server, the whole George Soros, the whole, stuffing the ballot boxes. Then, you got Dinesh D'Souza coming in with talking about the 2,000 mules. And you've got all these just bullshit stab in the dark analyses of the situation that didn't prove anything. And all it did was create confusion and derision. And most importantly, people became circumspect on anything, and therefore the truth would never come out. Yeah, the water pouring out in the building. Yeah, I know. I've heard all about it. I've heard all about the votes and the broken pipe and everything else. But here's the facts that I do know, because I was on that night, okay? It was me and it was Crowder. Crowder had 10 million people. I had 3,000. It was like the day that Don't Unfriend Me was actually born, okay? When we talk about the election itself, and I've had this conversation 1.5 million times, and I'll do it quickly one more time. The only thing I consider when it comes to the election is the constitutionality of the election. And when you use emergency powers to declare a COVID emergency and solicit judges to alter the way that state elections are ran, that is unconstitutional. You can't use declarative powers to change the Constitution of the United States. There are no emergency powers that grant you that access. You cannot change state constitution without legislators. The legislation did not change the way that things were going to be happening. For instance, mass mail-out ballots for people who didn't register. Let's look at what happened. Wisconsin and Michigan, for the first time ever during the primaries for the Democrat National Convention, did a full mail-in ballot system. You didn't have to go to the polls. You could just do a mail-in ballot system. This demonstrated a couple of things to Democrats, that their turnout was better than ever. It was an incredible turnout from Wisconsin and Michigan. The best turnout we've seen ever in U.S. history as far as people participating who were registered voters. You also saw two other things, is that Joe Biden was sucking hind tit. and who actually respectively did extremely well in those races were Bernie Sanders and Pete Buttigieg. And by the time we got into the Carolinas, Buttigieg and Sanders had a very decisive lead overall from percentage and polling, and in the future, going into Super Tuesday, we're doing very well. Joe Biden got hit with the racist tropes about the busing and everything else. Kamala Harris hit him, and it brought up him eulogizing 4 Ku Klux Klan members, and a lot of his racist past started to turn up, and this wasn't good for the Biden election. So what happened? Well, you get an announcement of Kamala Harris, who couldn't even win 1% of California, but was black and a woman, and that goes ahead and puts away the racist trope. Okay, Carrie, this is where you need to stop. Okay, this is where you need to be careful. This is not the time for you to start espousing bullshit in the thread. This is where you and I have problems. When I start talking about this stuff, you start adding stuff and you slip it in, and then I get pulled off topic. And this is where you've gotten in trouble on this show in the past. And the reason why is because I'm not going to sit here and allow you to say shit that isn't true, and then I go ahead and go off on a tangent and you distract the entire show. That's the one warning. Don't do it again, okay? Freedom of speech is fine. Freedom of bullshit is not on my show, okay? I don't want you to sit here and go, oh, it's time to go crazy and espouse all my bullshit, okay? No. Okay, because I don't have time to address everything you're saying. So please, just do me a favor and listen to the show and stop putting shit in chat thinking that you're adding value to this conversation. You're not. You're distracting it. No, you're distracting it. You're distracting the conversation. We're not talking about Flint, Michigan. We're not talking about ballot boxes. We are talking specifically with what happened in the primaries, and you're distracting from the conversation. Cool? Great. It's my fucking birthday. Give me a birthday present, will you? Please? Give me the present of peace. Because I don't need it. I don't need another last night. I'm begging you. Okay? Thanks. Great. Appreciate it. We've done this too many times together. Every time I talk about this, you immediately just start and just throwing shit all over the place. Stop. Just, if you want to call in, call in. If you want to say something that has to do with what we're talking about, please. But this isn't the time to start espousing Q shit. I have covered Mark Zuckerberg. I have covered the 500 million. We're not talking about that right now. Cool? All right, cool. Don't be sorry. Just don't do it. This is where you and I go and we butt heads. And I don't want to butt heads today. You're not helping. You're not helping because we're not talking about that. What you're doing is you're distracting the audience and you're getting them all fired up over stuff that we're not talking about, okay? Let's focus on what happened, not necessarily what happened that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Cool? Great, sweet, awesome. All right, let's move on. So Michigan and Wisconsin, going into the Carolinas, Joe Biden, extremely strong in the Carolinas, has a lot of reputation down in the South Carolina, but was showing weakened numbers. Buttigieg and Sanders were doing well, and it was very reminiscent of what happened in 2016 with Hillary Clinton, not necessarily polling the Northeast and the Rust Belt, where she saw Bernie Sanders do very well and Jill Stein do very well. Okay? So when you see that, the Democrats go, wait a second. This mail-in ballot thing is really awesome. What a turnout we got. This all happened in January, February, okay, when they were kicking off the primary. Just like we had just now, where we're seeing right now with Nikki Haley and Donald Trump, but with the Democrats. Go look it up. It's not hard. This is easy. This is easy finding. You can go to 270 to win and find out all of this. You can go to Real Clear Politics and find this. This is all these numbers are out there for you to find and validate what I'm saying. Okay. Unlike most people, thank you, Chef, for the happy birthday. Unlike most people who just say things without anything to back it up. Like, oh, it was George Soros and the Nazis from Buenos Aires who hijacked the election. It was a Germany server where the CIA was handled and the Spetsnaz came in and then they seized these Dominion servers. This shit's not true. None of this happened. Oh, it was Nashville, the Nashville bombing, the guy who had the RV and parked in front of it. That was a Dominion server stronghold. No, it wasn't. You're full of shit. The bill of lading on that building says nothing of that. It was owned by Ma Bell. It was owned by Pac Bell. Then it was owned by AT&T. Give me a break. None of that happened. Oh, it was a leaky. They went ahead and hacked the servers. It was 2,000 mules. And I know it was 2,000 mules. I know it was Dinesh D'Souza said so. I know they did this. And they stuffed the ballot boxes. Okay, great. Well, then answer me one question. Well, they wore gloves, Matt, and they wore masks. Yeah, that's what happens during COVID. Well, they stuffed them. Well, answer me this one question. Of all the videos, of all the stuffings that you saw going on, and even though churches and local communities and shelters and high schools do ballot harvesting by having everyone come to one location and then you drop them off in a ballot box because that's the instruction in those states. So it's not weird for that to happen. The question is this, and it's the one that Dinesh D'Souza cannot answer or any people who love 2,000 Mules. Here's the question for you. It's real simple. Asking the why. Prove it wasn't Trump supporters. You know what I get? They were black. You know what? That's racist. So a lot of community supporters are black. A lot of church groups have black people. Give me a fucking break. Okay? You can't answer that question. And until you can, what you have is circumstantial evidence. Well, wait a second, Matt. They pinpointed the J6ers versus these people dropping off at ballot box 7, 8, 9, 10 times, 50 times visiting these ballot boxes. No, what you have is someone who is returning to a location multiple times. They could be a person at Starbucks. It could be a cop. It could be someone who's handing out parking tickets and hits that route every single day. You have no evidence whatsoever. And that's not the gosh darn argument. The question is, and the why is, how did they do it legally? Before we even get out of illegal activity, which there is. I'm not saying that there's not cheating in elections, because that would be a stupid thing to say. Of course there are groups that cheat. Of course there are people who ballot harvest. Of course redistricting lines and gerrymandering is wrong. Of course there's intimidation at polling places. Of course there's oppression. Of course the roster for active people in state who are registered to vote, there's over 1 million discrepancies in California. Yes, it's all baked into the cake. We know this. But there is not enough to overturn an entire election over 7 states with over 50,000 people involved, from counters to election officials to police officers, FBI, attorneys, from actual poll workers, from people who are just on the street watching these processes, from active witnesses to voters who actually have to write affidavits and testify. 3,300 affidavits were presented. All of them were stricken out as not enough evidence. No jury has heard a trial because they can't even get to a preliminary hearing because there is no fucking evidence. How many times did you see during those court cases that I watched with you that people would come up and say, look at the pictures of all the boxes of all of these votes being destroyed. What's going on? And the judge is like, it says on the box 2007. It says 2010. State law and federal law is that these votes only have to be kept for 10 years. This was Obama's election. This has nothing to do with Trump. Oh, well, we know more were burned. Do you have any evidence of that? No, but if they burn those, they burn the... This is the problem with these arguments of a stolen election. Focus on what it really is. It's an unconstitutional process that does not follow and is not indicative of what the states have laid out for an election process. That is a very different conversation than stolen, because nobody stole it. They changed the rules because of COVID, and they did it in front of everybody. Because if I'm wrong, based on current trends from year to year, from 16 to 20, to predictive analysis of what 2024 will show from the amount of people who will vote, there will be over 190 million people voting this year. And I tell you, we won't even fucking scratch that. And if we don't scratch that, then it proves my point for the last 3.5 years, that we injected the system with mail-in ballots. We went ahead and with unsolicited request sent ballots to people who were not even registered to vote. And the arguments that happened in court were the following. It's COVID. People can't get to the DMV. They can't register to vote. There's a 6 months waiting list. Well, if they've moved into the state within the last 3 years and they haven't registered, send them a ballot. Send them a ballot. That's solicitation. There is a process that takes place. You must register to vote. You do not vote unless you register. And when you send out ballots to people who are at home, who are watching Matlock reruns and Ricky Lake reruns and Nick at Night, and literally are trying to find toilet paper and food and can't do anything, when the mail comes and there's 7 ballots there that are all addressed to different people who've lived there, and your name is on it, and you're like, oh, here's a ballot. Well, I'm also listening to the news 24 hours a day and watching the death ticker of COVID, and they're telling me that Orange Man is a freaking Nazi and he's going to take over the US and be a dictator. I'm going to vote for that other guy, Biden. And this is why you saw certain counties and certain districts, specifically only in the swing states, Arizona, Nevada, Georgia. You saw it in Michigan. You saw it in Wisconsin. You saw it in Pennsylvania, the swing states. You saw districts in blue counties show up 90% voting attrition to 10% of Trump. 90-10. I can tell you right now that is not indicative of the rest of the country. The rest of the country, the biggest deficits were possibly a 60-40 split. That's not the way it works. There are no all Democrat counties unless it's a small 500 to 700 county. And even then, we are the reddest of red here where I'm at in Virginia. There's 500 people here. We ran a 60-40 split. Most places ran like a 52-48. Maybe a 50, you see this when Fox puts up the numbers, a 58-42. You don't see these 90-10 splits. You see it in the primary, but you don't see it in general elections. Most of the country is fairly well split on who is going to be the president of the United States. And really, you might see a 65-35. You saw that occasionally when it came to Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. There were 70-30s. There were Biden ones that were 70-30s. You don't see a 90-10 in a place with 1.7 million people. Give me a fucking break. You just don't see it. So to see some of those counties that did not align with the rest, specifically in Democrat strongholds, specifically in swing states, and yes, Donald Trump benefited from mail-in ballots that they sent out for COVID because he received the second most votes in U.S. history ever. Joe Biden received number 1. And the reason why is most of these mail-in ballots went to Democratic strongholds in places that they say are oppressed, the places that they say they don't have enough ballot drop-offs, where they can't figure out how to go to the DMV, or because they have to wear a mask and they can't go stand in line and get registered, or they move over and over and over again and they don't know where to find these people, so they send out ballots to each last known address so those people can vote. It's not hard. That's how it was done. There's no secret here. Why do you think Donald Trump went to the Postmaster General when they requested how much? $900 million for additional funding to count all the votes that were coming. The news told you about it 3 months ahead of time. Nancy Pelosi went on stage and said Donald Trump is trying to thwart the election because he doesn't want the Postmaster General to have more money to count all these votes that are coming because there'll be the most votes in U.S. history. It's right there. There was no steal. They did it right under your eyes. And they used judges to alter the state's constitution. Don't you remember all the bullshit you heard that Donald Trump had watermarked all those ballots, and those ballots they were going to be able to hold up to the light to see if they were real? None of that happened. The federal government doesn't print those ballots. The states do. So now not only are you talking about a massive conspiracy with 30, 40, 50,000 people in those 7 states who were involved in the electoral process, now you're telling me that he went to the state's treasury and he went to the State Department of each state and he went ahead and altered everybody by putting in these secret watermarked ballots that never took place, and nobody is flipping turncoat? Nobody is saying, oh, hey, guess what happened? How come nobody's flipping coat? It's the greatest kept secret in the world. You can't frickin' tell me he can't even keep a Ukrainian phone call in the Oval Office, the most secure place in the fucking world. And you're telling me that you can keep 50,000 people quiet in a massive cover-up? You guys have never worked for the government if you even think that that's possible. I don't believe you are touting mainstream media BS again by. That statement makes no sense. I don't believe you are touting mainstream. If you don't believe I'm touting mainstream media, then why are you leaving? There's nobody in mainstream media saying this. There's two people who've been saying this. Now everybody is. I just showed you guys a video last week where you've got Megyn Kelly, you've got Rubin, you've got Bill Maher now saying what I'm saying. I then showed you another video where they're all saying Nikki Haley is probably going to be the vice president. Hello? Oh my God, of course I'm not touting mainstream media. I'm actually saying everything against it. I'm saying it against from the conservative viewpoint and Democrat viewpoint. I'm telling you what the numbers say. How many votes were done in 2020? How many votes? It was single-handedly the biggest election we've ever had. 150, 160 million votes. Can you please tell me the second closest vote count to that? Was it 124? Where did all those extra votes come from? Why did people vote all of a sudden? I have been saying this shit for 3.5 years. You know who else said it after 3 months of being threatened on Fox? Was Mark Levin. Now he says it all the time. Do you know how many people have changed their story and are now talking about the constitutionality? We can't allow mail-in ballots. We can't allow the ballot harvesting. Why are they saying that if it was cheating? Why are Republicans saying you need to get out and vote and we got a ballot harvest if it was cheating? Are Republicans openly saying they need to cheat? Do you understand that they use the judges for an unconstitutional effort to change the electoral process? They extended the counts in many states. They wanted to count 3 weeks past when the votes were actually turned in. They wanted to limit the signatures. They wanted to limit addresses. They wanted to limit the verification process because of COVID. This is what happened in Georgia. They did everything in broad daylight under the guise of COVID. How hard? Because it was both. What does that mean it was both? What? You have no proof of both. You can't say, it's okay, people, just to say the following. We were fed a line of bullshit by a bunch of grifters who wanted to go ahead and make money off of us. And now we have uncovered over years of looking at this that the most probable and realistic explanation is that Democrats went to judges and changed the state's constitution unconstitutionally. Is the only thing that makes sense because you all watched it happen. How many of you have said to me, oh, Matt, I got 7 ballots in the mail? 7. It just supports what I'm trying to tell you. Zuckerberg boxes. You know, sometimes it's just a waste of time. It's like you can sit up here and you can just lay it all out. You can paint it for everybody. You can give them the numbers. You can give them the places to go, and they still don't get it. Citizens United protects Mark Zuckerberg. Corporations have a First Amendment right that money is speech. If you want it to change, then go ahead and tell the Republicans to stop backing up Citizens United. It's a Republican initiative, guys and girls. Citizens United protects the Republicans. They're the one that wants that in office. They wanted that because Democrats were getting all big tech, all of Silicon Valley, all of Hollywood. They were raising billions upon billions of dollars, and Obama wiped the floor of them. Donald Trump changed that in 2016 by only spending 25% of what Hillary Clinton spent. She put over $2 billion, $2.1 billion in her election. Donald Trump didn't even eclipse $600 million. He got free advertising on social media. He destroyed Twitter and Facebook and everywhere else. He got his name out there, a grassroots campaign. It was absolutely genius. Republicans at that point should go ahead and expel Citizens United. It will cut the Democrats apart. but you're not going to beat them in fundraising. You're never going to beat them in dollars because the media conglomerates cut these guys discounts on their political ads. They do not do the same thing for Republicans. They don't have to with Nielsen ratings. They can go ahead and sell one company an ad set for 10 times as much, and there is no fair use or practice law when it comes to Nielsen ratings. There is no investigation. They can charge whatever they want for their airtime, and as long as somebody pays it. You will never compete with the media conglomerates of the Democrats. Donald Trump figured out a way to allow the media to cover him free of charge by saying things, controlling the news segment, controlling the 24-hour news cycle and making it about him. He didn't need to spend that money. If you want Mark Zuckerberg to stop putting $500 million into elections, then you've got to stop Citizens United. Now people are like, what's Citizens United? What's Citizens United? What are you talking about? Is that a new conspiracy? Did Dinesh D'Souza write a new book? No, it's I've told you a million times what it is. I mean, I hate to say it, folks, but all right, I'm gonna give you the Cliff Notes version. January 21, 2020. It's been a decade since 2010. Supreme Court ruling Citizens United versus Federal Elections Commission. This was the argument that corporations do not have free speech. They are not an individual. They are a conglomeration of people. Therefore, they do not have free speech. Citizens United said a conservative nonprofit group called Citizens United challenged campaign finance rules after the FEC stopped it from promoting and airing filming criticizing presidential candidate HRC to close the presidential primaries. 5-4 majority Supreme Court sided with Citizens United, ruling that corporations and other outside groups can spend unlimited money on elections. Then it was George Soros and the mail-in ballots. I just told you it's not stolen. It's not illegal. It's protected. Republicans for 10 years have stood behind Citizens United, and it's literally gutting them right now. Now what are you going to say? It was Mark Zuckerberg with ballot boxes. Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg played a huge role, but it's not illegal. It's protected. Citizens United allows them to do it, and the Republicans pushed it through. It's just like the filibuster. The Democrats, we want to abolish the filibuster. Well, then Harry Reid shouldn't have pushed it through. Democrats used it to their advantage as long as they wanted, and now they don't like it anymore because they can't get anything passed because America doesn't want to give unfettered power to either party. So the filibuster kills them. Citizens United is crushing Republican donations because we are outspent, outgunned, and outmanned. You've got oil, big tobacco, and the NRA. How are those three doing? Let me know. How's big tobacco doing? How's the NRA doing? How's big oil doing? Yeah. But how's Hollywood doing? How's Starbucks doing? How's Apple doing? How's Microsoft doing? How's Google doing? How's Amazon doing? How are the other 500 Fortune 500 companies that are all liberally ran? How are they doing? Well, they represent trillions of dollars in the economy, and they're giving money unwantingly to any Democrat who wants it. And it's all under Citizens United. Give me a break, people. How many times do I have to do this? And I have to hear it was Professor Green in the library with a candlestick. I got people who are, I'm out of here. This sounds like mainstream media talking points. What are you, nobody is telling you this. Tell me I'm wrong. Call into the show. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. Tell me what I've missed. You better come with guns loaded. You better come with guns loaded. There it is. I just put it up. Somebody, I'll open up the phone line. Someone put up the phone number, please. One of the mods. Folks, if I'm lying, I'm dying. Tell me what I missed. Guess what? You're not always right. Tell me what I'm wrong. Blake Steele. Tell me what I'm wrong about. See, that's the problem when somebody says that. That is you using a logical fallacy. Tell me what I'm wrong about. I don't have to always be right to be right. But please tell me what I'm wrong about before you make a comment like that. Because all you're trying to do is discredit me. But you can't, because you can't tell me what I've said that's wrong. Just tell me. Tell me what I'm wrong about. Blake Steele. I've seen you on Facebook. I've seen you working up the courage to do this. And it's really exciting that you found the courage. I wish you would find the courage to call in and do it. But I've seen your posts, and it's wishy-washy. You're not sure if you like me. You're not sure if you don't like me. So once in a while, you play a little bit, and it's like, yeah, thumbs up. And other times, you're like, thumbs down. Now you found the courage to actually stand up and go, yeah, you don't know everything. Okay, well, tell me what I don't know. Take that courage from COVID to JFK. What the fuck does that mean? You want to have a conversation about JFK? I would love to have a conversation about JFK with you. Please call in. Please tell me what I was wrong about with COVID, considering that I never made any proclamations with COVID. Not one. Not one. Except it was Wuhan founded. Except China is where it originated from and made that comment several times before Jon Stewart, before Rand Paul, but whatever. Come on, get in here, Blake. Be a man, for God's sakes. Just call. Let's have a conversation. Let's wax some intellect. You get to tell me what I'm wrong about, and I'll go ahead and let you know if you're right about that. No? Damn it. When you find that intestinal fortitude, call. Tell me what I'm wrong about. Wuhan made and funded by USA. Wait a second. Blake, you're not saying anything. I've never said any of those words. What are you talking about? What am I wrong about? Tell me what I've said that's opposite of that. I just told you Wuhan. Tell me what I said. It was one of the people that broke one of the stories in regard to Anthony Fauci and the funding that the NIH got for Wuhan. The $600,000 stipend that they got for that. I was one of the people that broke that story. What the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about? You know, I can handle a little bit of challenging. What I won't allow people to do is just make shit up. What are you talking about, dude? Just call in. Tell me what you've went from the election. Now you're in COVID. Then you went to JFK. What the fuck does JFK have to do with this? Pick up the phone, dude. It's not like you're going to get embarrassed. There's 100 people on. It's a slow Friday. People are out of the news cycle because the bridge already happened. When there's another catastrophe, they'll all come back. Just call in. What are you going to do? So you get a haircut. Who cares? You're going to get a little bit of a haircut. We'll probably be fast friends when you're done, and you'll be a lifelong viewer. Just tell me, dude, what did I say? How was I wrong? See, that's always the interesting thing, because what I can tell you, for someone who's not always right, I'm pretty much fucking always right. I don't know what to tell you, dude. You want to know why? Because I don't make shit up, and I don't go ahead and say things that are unfounded. I don't do predictions. I'm not Jimmy the Greek. I'm not some sort of day trader. What I do is I give you the facts. And when I'm wrong, I will go ahead and correct those facts. Like I did, which I wasn't wrong, because the video that was shown to me about the Ukraine and joining Ukraine was an actual dubbed Russian from Smoltry, was a dubbed Russian video. But then literally the next morning, he did openly admit, and Blinken said, hey, Ukraine is going to join NATO. So what I do, I did my due diligence, came on and showed it. Wasn't wrong, but I made sure that I followed up, which could make me look like I'm ill-informed. I don't care. Who gives a crap? What am I wrong about? I'm still waiting for an answer. I'm waiting for an answer, dude. You still haven't said anything. You're just saying a bunch of shit. JFK, COVID, blue octopus, hairy scrotum. What is it? What are you talking about? like most people, you don't like what you're hearing because it challenges everything you've heard. I get it. I understand you look up to guys like Charlie Kirk. I understand you look up to guys like Crowder. I understand you look up to guys like Ben Shapiro or Alex Jones. And guess what? They all do amazing work, and they do a lot of shit work too. There's a whole bunch of shitty work that they do too. And the only thing I'm trying to say is, it doesn't feel good to have people you've listened to, who you've given money to, who you've spent hours emulating and talking about their talking points. And it's got to be a little embarrassing, man. I get it. I get it. I understand. I've done the same thing. I've listened to people and I'm like, oh my God, man, I can't believe it. And then I go and fact check it. Then I start researching and I use my brain and I go, wait a second, this isn't true. God damn it. I really like these people. I like this person. That's not my fault. Don't blame me. Because I'm popping your bubble. Don't get mad at me. Go take it out on them who won't talk to you. I'll talk to you. You're in my chat. I'm giving you a phone number. I'm giving you a platform to have a conversation with me. No other talk show host is. Who else is doing this? Larry King's gone. Who's doing this? Who takes callers? Who actually sits here and says, my ideas are open for debate? They're open for you to challenge them. Who does this? Well, you know what? I'll take that person. If Ben Shapiro opened up phone lines and said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and defend some of my points on Israel. I'm going to go ahead and tell you why hitting Hamas is single-handedly the most important thing that Israel can do for the sanctity and their sovereignty of their country. I'm willing to take callers. I'm willing to people call me Jewish slurs. I'm willing to open up to the anti-Semites. I'm willing for people to call me a Zionist, a dirty blank, a K with an Ike at the end of it. I'm willing for people to do that to me because I believe not only in my convictions, but I have the facts to back it up. I'm giving you that. And how am I mainstream media? How am I even close? You think Don Lemon's going to take phone calls from his fucking listeners? You think Como's going to do that? Rachel Maddow's going to do that? You think Sean Hannity is going to take calls? At least I have the balls to sit up here and take calls. At least I have the balls to put myself out there and give you as much information as I can to help you connect the dots. And you know what? The only thing I ask for it is for you to be honest and sincere. That's the only thing I want you to do. I want you to reflect me properly. I want you to speak about me properly. I want you to quote me properly versus taking your pedantic tantrums and applying it to me because you're upset with yourself. That's not my fault. It's okay to say, you know how many people who watch this show, and when we have 600 on, 500 on, which tonight we'll have 275, 350 people on because this show is an impromptu show. You know how many people will say, I believed in the stolen election, and then I stopped and I listened and I actually just swallowed my pride, and my God, I cannot believe who I was. I can't believe what I thought. I can't believe I was sold this bullshit. That I actually looked at what really happened, and my God, they just did it right in front of our eyes, and they used the laws of the land to go ahead and twist it and turn it and contort it into what they wanted, the 2020 election. Do you know how many people actually have said that? I can't even count. And you know what I would say? Don't hero worship me. Don't idolize me. Don't take everything I say and espouse it as absolute fact until you've done your homework. It always baffles me that you guys never have the time to call, but you always have the time to talk shit in chat. It always baffles me. So Blake, do better. Do better. If you're going to have the balls to talk shit in chat, you better frickin' pick up the phone and call. Otherwise, everything you're saying is hollow. You don't even get a chance to put your feet in the blocks. You've already lost. It's just like the lady last night. She came at me. She started talking shit in chat. And then when she got on here, she threw a frickin' temper tantrum because she had no evidence to the things that she was saying. And I was calling her out on it. And then all of a sudden, I'm fat. You're fat. I'm fucking fat. lady, go fuck yourself. I would love to see a photo of your husband at 50. I am 50 years old and I do not have a dad bod. I work my ass off for where I'm at. Am I perfect? No. Am I fat? Give me a fucking break. But I had to listen to that bullshit. I got to be called somebody who's stupid and unintelligent and doesn't listen to other people. I listened for 27 minutes before I finally said, lady, you just lied. You're a liar. She couldn't admit it after an hour and 20 minutes. And by the way, it is now 11:10 in the morning. We are officially 12 hours from when we had a conversation, and I was told I would have the warrant, I would have the videos, all in my inbox, ready to go with all the proof in the world. And guess what? I got nothing. Zero, zilch, nada, shit. Oh yeah, PHAT fat for sure. For show. I got nothing. And I won't have anything in my inbox tomorrow. And I won't have anything in my inbox next week. And I won't have anything in my inbox next month. Because just like the people who came to my show in the beginning, who were amazing friends of mine, people who I absolutely loved, who told me, Matt, the election was stolen. Wait till November, you'll see. Okay, it's not going to happen November. Wait till December. Okay, December's not going to work, but January 14th is the day. Okay, that's not going to work. But the 19th, they're going to overthrow the election, and the gates that were put up are actually Donald Trump. And he went in and did a military tribunal, and he has Hillary Clinton under arrest. He has Obama under arrest in Guantanamo Bay, and they are going to overtake the government. And the fences are there are to keep the senators and state legislators in when they try to flee for their lives. They're going to be rounded up, and they're going to be executed. Just wait. You fucking people. I've coddled you for too long. You're fucking insane. You people have a serious disconnect from reality. And yes, I don't care. I'm going to lose viewers. I don't want you to watch my shit because you are completely incurable. There's no antidote I can give you. There's no vaccine available. I'm sorry, Moderna and Pfizer will not help you. You believe that Donald Trump is still the president of the United States, that because a certain amount of cannons didn't go off in Joe Biden's ceremony, that he's not the real president. What the fuck is wrong with you? Seriously, what's wrong with you? I understand the National Enquirer. I saw my mom go through it. She used to buy stacks. She would Star, Us, Enquirer, 50 papers she would buy in the grocery store. They were all $1.99 a piece. She would spend like $40 on these tabloids. And oh my God, do you know there's a B-25 on the other side of the moon from World War II that the aliens took? And I'm just like, Elvis is with fucking Liz Taylor and they're up there with Michael Jackson getting his nose fixed with the Elephant Man's bones. What the... What? And then you had WWE and WWF and yeah, man, I'm the Hulkmaniac and the Macho Man Savage and yeah, man, I'm gonna yeah, man, I'm gonna, and people are like, it's real. It's so real. Oh, look at that stuff. You know what? It is real in the sense that those guys lay themselves out and they do shit that I would never do with my back, and I respect it. But it's all written. How many times can you see an almost a 3-count pin and then the person's gone and laying here and then Hulkster hits the ropes and comes at him and all of a sudden, oh, yeah, man, and he slams Hulk and he picks him up, throws him out of the ring and everyone's like, yeah, and then Hulk comes in and he gets him down on a 3 count and it's 1, 2, and then all of a sudden you see, and the Hulkster's arm goes up and everyone's like, oh. And the manager, is flipping out like, what the hell's going on, man? What's the Hulk doing? And then the hand comes down, grabs his hair and pulls him back. And Hulkster gets up and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and picks him up and slams him. And the crowd's going fucking nuts. And the Hulkster picks him up and grabs his leg, and he pins his shoulder. It's 1, 2, 3, yeah! Belt comes out, hot chick with big tits. And everyone goes, holy shit, I can't believe the Hulk won. Woo! Completely scared of that. Oh, it's only like every other fight that we've seen since WrestleMania 1 till WrestleMania 27, the musical. Woo! It's almost like this shit's scripted, but it's amazing. Oh. Woo. What a sport. These are the type of people who believe this shit. And I can sit there, dude, wrestling's not real. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah, Andre the Giant was 7'10" and 800 pounds. Okay. Holy shit. I'm out of breath. I'm exhausted. See, that is work. It's real. The same people who believe this stuff about clones and lizards and adrenochrome and guys, if everything's a conspiracy, if everything's a lie, if they have this much control to do whatever they want, to collapse a bridge with a boat when they could just hit it with a GBU for God's sake, they could hit it with these DUM weapons that they supposedly have. And if you're gonna run a 165,000-ton vehicle at 8.5 knots into a bridge, why the fuck do you need explosives? That way the entire bridge goes down. Well, the entire bridge didn't go down. There are several parts on both sides on the east and west ends that still have bridge remaining. Why weren't those with explosives? I can't understand why logical people who are so smart come up with this bullshit and believe it. Blake, you're buying, he goes, the soap operas for men. You're buying it right now with this bullshit that you're telling me. I just laid out to you how the election was unconstitutional and how they did it. And you're like, I don't even know what you're like. You're not always right. Tell me what I'm wrong on. I'm going to go wrestle now. We're getting off the rails on a crazy train. No, we're not. This is all related. 3 bridges in one day. What? Blake, you said this on Facebook and I called you out on it. You never replied. You want me to reply now? Please tell me the 3 bridges that all fell. Name them. I'll do one. Francis Scott Key Bridge, Baltimore, Maryland. Give me the other 2. Go ahead. Tell me right now, please. Give me the bridges, the other 2 bridges that collapsed. If you say Crimea, you're going to get blown from here to kingdom come. If you say Crimea, it's going to be a real bad day for you. So don't say Crimea. Don't do it. Don't do it. Blakey, don't take the bait. I'm warning you. I got a nuke. I'll go Superman on your ass. Don't do it, Blake. Don't say Crimea. Don't say Crimea. You can say anything you want. Just don't say Crimea. I think he was typing Crimea and then he hit delete. No. Bridges that collapsed. No. Do you understand how many times boats hit bridges? Have you even looked it up? Have you ever looked up how many boats have hit bridges? And let me ask you this. If all this is happening and there were explosives on the bridge, then why are people making up stories like this? If you have to lie, what does that say? This is the video that you see with a bridge in Crimea from 2022 that was where an explosion took place. I remember because I did a story on this. I saw this video floating around. They said, look, here's the explosive ordnance that was used on the Francis Scott Key Bridge. It's amazing. They tried to blow it up. They blew it. Government blew it up. Joe Biden blew up the bridge. Yeah, it was Crimea. I saw the video and I laughed. I'm like, this one's going to be so easy. I went up and I looked up my video. I had the URL for the BBC article, found it in about 2 seconds. Put this sucker to bed. So what? Bridges get hit. Do you know how many jet skis hit pylons? How many motorboats, speedboats annually during the summer? Do you know how many accidents take place? Ships hitting ships? Happens all the time. Who cares? Who gives a shit? It has nothing to do with what took place. There were no explosives on that bridge. There was nothing intentional about that as far as we can tell. And until you have evidence, then all you're doing is espousing bullshit. Thank you, Bubba. All right, let's move on. I swear they blew up that bridge in Crimea, though. They blew it up. They took it out. And they took out a food processing plant, too. There's 3,300 food processing plants in the greater United States. On average, about 110 of them burn up each year. Why? Negligence. Not doing quality and damage control. Not doing maintenance. Not doing preventive maintenance. Want to know what happened with COVID? Most of these processing plants laid off a lot of their staff, and they still haven't been able to hire them back, just like they can't hire people back in the waitress and food service industry. So you want to know how many more a year are actually happening? About 35. That's the trend. They've always burned up. They've always had problems. Yes, a plane crashed into one. Planes crash, dude. Small engine aircraft crash all the time. Massive airliners don't. I don't think we've had a massive crash since like 2013. God forbid, knock on wood. Don't want to see it again. No matter how many doors fall off. If a door falls out of a plane, I'm kind of like, thank God. At least it's not the wing. At least it's not just blowing up spontaneously in the air. At least it's not going down to engine failure, mechanical failure. Airline industry has a pretty good record. I don't feel great about doors flying off, of course. But at least it landed. But a plane went into a processing plant. It's the government. Was it a military aircraft? No, a civilian. Cessnas. They're horrible. They're destructive, monstrous airplanes made by the Illuminati. 3,300 food processing plants in the United States. 145 on average now are going down. Yes, because people are not there to do preventive maintenance, to do damage control, to ensure that the machines are taken care of, that all the equipment is working properly, corners are being cut, money is being saved. And it's probably what we're going to find out about what happened with the Francis Scott Key Bridge, is that corners were cut. They put a rubber band or a Band-Aid situation on whatever was causing that ship's ailments that made it in dock in the first place, and the damn thing wasn't properly handled. Those pilots were in a no-win, untenable situation. That's it. It was the Illuminati. They hacked it. Chinese hackers. Chinese hackers hit the bridge. Yes, I'm being condescending and disrespectful. Yes, I am. I'm a crotchety old man now. I'm 50 years old today. I get to be the guy that says, get off my lawn. Get off my lawn. It was George Soros and the New World Order. They did it. I swear to God. I know they did it. With Jewish space lasers. Listen, when Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene are your source, you may want to go ahead and get a second source, okay? Matt, did I get more from that caller yesterday? No, of course, because there isn't anything to give. There's no video of Minneapolis police saying, wait till they see J6. Wait till they see when we kill that woman and go ahead and stage an insurrection at the Capitol. Didn't happen. And there's no video the guy goes, wait till they see me. I'm going to go ahead and start an AutoZone fire with my blue eyes and my blonde hair, and I'm from the CIA. That video doesn't happen. Talked to a buddy in the FBI, though. Asked him a couple questions, gave the name that she gave me. talked about a talk and knock warrant, and asked about 50 FBI agents pointing a gun at a woman and a small child who had a social media post that they didn't agree with. And he said, not only did it not happen in the location that person said, but it hasn't happened in the continental United States in any way, facet, or form that could even be comparable to that story. He's with the deep state. He's an FBI communist. I can't believe him. This guy's a liar. That's why they call them the fib. They work for they're the same people who set up Sandy Hook. I can only handle it so much. I've been doing this for 3.5 years. I'm cynical. I've become cynical. I've just become exhausted with stupidity. Timothy Joyce says, the only explosion I saw on that bridge was probably the generator that they had on the bridge for work lights, and that didn't happen until the bridge fell. Yeah, Timothy, and also you saw shearing, right? Everyone goes, oh, what are you, Matt? Are you a welder guy? Are you a tack welder? How do you know? Well, metal shearing isn't hard to replicate. Go take 2 butter knives and put equal amounts of force against those butter knives in the opposite direction of each other and have them on their serrated edges grind at a high speed. What's going to happen? Well, Matt, they're going to blow up. No, they're not going to blow up because there's no Jewish space lasers, but they are going to spark because the amount of heat that transfers to the surface level of the metal immediately ignites, which is then hot enough to go ahead and ignite the surrounding air. And you will see combustion take place. It's the same thing that happens in a piston. So when you see 2 metal pieces touch each other and an ungodly amount of force is coming down on metal that's vertical as a suspension and support, you're going to have shearing take place, which is anyone who's watched Highlander. There can be only one. My name is Conor McLeod from the Clan McLeod from the shores of Luxshannon. I am immortal, and I cannot die. Die, Dugan. You go ahead and put that out of your eyes. They say you what? Oh, I couldn't go fuck her like she's a shrew. So when you see 2 pieces of metal and you're going to see sparks. Massive amounts of sparks. And you know the difference between sparks and explosions? Do you know the difference between thermite and a spark? Thermite doesn't dissipate a few feet away from the origination of the source. It's literally plasma. It's lava. And not only would you see a massive shit ton of metal pouring molten metal, you would see steam hitting the water, which was fairly cold. You're going to be talking about heat of up to 1,800 degrees hitting water that is around 45 to 50 degrees. You're going to reach immediate dew point. Condensation will form at a rapid clip. And you will see massive amounts of steam as that thermite plasma hits the water. Yet, they disappeared in midair. Like a spark should on 4th of July with a sparkler. Why didn't they melt down to China? I dropped my sparkler on the ground. Oh, shit. Sorry. Won't happen again, sir. Fuck you. Why didn't it burn through the ground, dude? I don't understand. This sparkler is amazing. I should have burned all the way down to China. Well, because they don't have enough heat to carry their heat signature till it hits the ground, because they literally burn so fast and so hot that they dissipate into nothing. But that's not the way thermite works. It's an incendiary source that is constant until that source is dissipated. It makes the metal heat up at such a rapid clip that it turns a solid into a liquid. and it doesn't dissipate 3 or 4 feet from the source. So if they're using thermite, why are the sparks dissipating before they hit the water? Matt, don't use logic. It's a special kind of secret thermite. It's CIA created. It's special science and technology that we stole from the aliens in Area 51. Give me a fucking break. Science doesn't exist here, Matt. What?
Happy birthday.
Thanks, sweetheart. How are you? I'm gonna come in and give me a hug. How are you doing? Did you get a good sleep?
Yeah. I have rehearsal today, too.
I know you do. Take it easy.
We're so behind that they had to make rehearsal on a holiday.
Is Mom coming to pick you up?
No, Ella's picking me up.
Okay. Get a shower. Get fresh. Get yourself an egg sandwich. Do you want some coffee this morning?
Probably.
I'll make you some coffee. All right. I love you.
Love you.
Okay. Don't leave before I make you coffee. Super secret top level 7 clearances thermite. All right. Are we done? Have I ridiculed people enough? People call me condescending. I don't know why. Listen, it doesn't mean I don't like you. It doesn't mean that this is everybody. In fact, this is hardly anybody who believes this shit. I just wish people would get back to common sense. I wish people would get back to just deductive reasoning. And if you don't have the education, if you don't have the wherewithal to study, if you don't have the belief, I got to find something to do with my chair. Whoops. That was a ship, and China changed my GPS trajectory. Did you guys see almost the entire table come down as it literally tried all the explosives? All right, that's better. So now that we've done this, can we talk about what we're going to talk about today? Because, holy shit, I'm already at 11:30. You guys are killing me. I wanted to talk about the J6 lady. I wanted to talk about something important. So as I can go ahead and be critical of J6 and what took place, I want to call it the bullshit too. I know most people sit in chairs, but I can't do it anymore. My back doesn't feel good. Yeah, Kevin's like, it must be cold thermite. That's right, it's cold thermite. Yep, it's like cold fusion. It was actually created accidentally in the movie The Saint with Val Kilmer and Elizabeth Shue. In that shitty movie, yeah, they created cold fusion, which ultimately created cold thermite. It's true. It's really cool. The movie didn't make any money, but they sure did. This is the J6 praying grandma. And she released a video. You can find this on news.thedumshow.com. This lady, this is pretty sad. The trial was held on March 25th, and it was in the Federal District Court of Columbia. The jury deliberated for 26 hours. 26 hours. Over 3 days. You would think that if a jury takes that long to come back on 4 misdemeanor charges, 4, that somehow somebody would say, guys, we're doing something wrong here. She was quoted as saying, I was surprised. I believe in God, and he intended for this to unfold in such a way to amplify my voice. It's time for our country to awaken. She went to the Stop the Steal rally. And she did not go into and destroy anything. She didn't hurt anybody. She simply went in for 10 minutes. Here's a photograph. Was talking to Capitol Police officer, not hurting anybody, not spraying anybody with any malicious type of stuff. There's a picture of her over to the left there. You got my picture in the way, but you can see it. And she then went and prayed for over an hour. For 1 hour, she prayed. And she prayed on a few things. She prayed for America. She prayed for Donald Trump. She prayed for what she felt was an election that was stolen from Donald Trump. And whether she was right or wrong, it doesn't matter. She practiced her First Amendment rights, the freedom of speech, the freedom of assembly, freedom of religion. And she expressed her constitutional rights and went into the people's house and didn't break in and didn't contribute to it in any way, shape, or form. Here is a video where a lot of people are insulting her and saying, oh, this is canned and this is set up. Well, her husband or friend, I don't know which, is documenting this stuff. And why is because for posterity's sake, but also to ensure that people can hear the story. Now, some people are calling these J6 tears. You know what? The lady's 76 years old. She's a great grandmother. She owns a business. She was a nurse. She's had a lifetime of dedication of service to people. And then after doing that, she decides to open up a bed and breakfast. She goes to Washington, D.C. to support her president, whether right or wrong. Here's the video the morning of when the jury is still in deliberation. And change the audio. Liv's not here. Damn it. She always helps me with this. Okay, here it is.
My own country's treating me like a criminal. It's because I believe that they stole the rightful president. And just standing up for my country, it makes me a criminal. And it's just not right. It feels so weird to be here. Over 3 years ago, I was here.
So, you know, I will say this. Is the jury took 26 hours to deliberate. She's facing up to 1 year in prison and $200,000 in fines. And that's not even including her attorney's fees, which easily are going to eclipse the amount of the fine. And the fact that it took 26 hours shows that there were multiple, if not one person, who was challenging the overall decision from the jury and bringing up enough contradicting information to keep that jury from making a decision over 3 days. In my opinion, what she is facing are the following: unauthorized entry or presence in a restricted building, disorderly and disruptive conduct on restricted premises, disorderly behavior within a Capitol building, and engaging in demonstrations or picketing within a Capitol building. It's interesting because I saw that take place with the pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian rioters, which they're insurrectionists too, because there was legislation and it was in session. Supreme Court was in session, and so was the state legislature. So was the Senate. So therefore, they were trying to interrupt legislation because all of a sudden they know the intent of all of those people, of course, just like they knew the intent of all the J6ers. Anyone who was there on J6 had the same intent, which was to overthrow the government and to perform an insurrection or a coup, right? Just because you're guilty by association. That is not how the courts work. But in this case, you have seen hundreds upon hundreds of these cases go into and in front of a judge, and nobody has been acquitted. Everyone has faced some sort of fine, some sort of sentence, or some sort of penalty in this. Nobody has been acquitted of charges. Explain to me how that happens. If this lady is not acquitted of charges, who deserves to be? If she went in didn't do anything, talked to the Capitol Police in a calm manner, wasn't a part of hurting police, didn't destroy anything, went in for 10 minutes, left, went on the steps and prayed for an hour. Why does that woman deserve a year in jail and $200,000? Because a precedent has been set that if they do not do it, if they do not hold her accountable, if they do not ensure that every single person pays, you then open up a precedent for every other case to be looked at and retried. The moment you acquit somebody, if you put them all in the same category of guilt, you have to put them in the same category of innocence, or at least reduce charges based upon what they decide with her. They will never acquit any people. They will never give any of these people carte blanche. They will never allow them to prove innocence, because if they do, it opens up the validity to every other case, because they're charging them as a group. Therefore, the innocence would be applied to the group as well. This is why Donald Trump wants to pardon these people. The left doesn't get to talk about Donald Trump pardoning these people. There's been people who have killed cops. There are people who have actually dealt drugs on massive scales. There's people who have philandered with children and underage people. There are people who have embezzled money for the Clintons. There are people who have extorted other people, who've blackmailed people, who have been pardoned. Pardons happen all the time. And all of them are questioned in one way or another. Do I believe Donald Trump should pardon all the J6ers? No. In fact, I think the people who have been charged for some of the strongest sentence deserve to rot in prison for the rest of their lives. But some of them only got 20 years. Because why? Because you're a fucking traitor, that's why. How's that? You're a fucking traitor. And everybody gets called a traitor nowadays. That doesn't mean anything. But what you did is treason. Whether you like it or not, I don't care. But that is a very small group of people. And those small groups of people, when they are found guilty, I don't care if it's in DC, I don't care where it is, either you trust the system or you don't. I understand your reprehension. I understand how you don't like it, but I don't care. I've read some of those text messages. I read some of those threats. I read the things that they wanted to do to Pelosi and Schumer and others. And even though those people are abhorrent and I can't stand them as politicians, I don't want to see anyone murdered by a citizen. I'm sorry. Lawlessness is never okay. But this crap and what they're doing to this grandmother is ridiculous. It's absolutely ludicrous. 4 misdemeanors, 3 years of trials. The amount of money that she is going to have to pay will bankrupt this lady. So, I'll tell you where you can actually go. And go to this website. It's givesendgo.com. And you want to look up Rebecca Lavrenz. If you're planning on donating to the Don't Unfriend Me show tonight, don't. Donate to her. We need it too, but she needs it more. So you can go to givesendgo.com, Rebecca Lavrenz, see if you can help out. Right now, she's at 63,224. And because of my story and other stories that people have put up, she's got $13,000 today. Just today alone. That makes me feel good. I donated earlier today. You should do the same. I don't support what happened in J6, but I do believe there are multiple cases where each individual needs to be tried on their own merit, and doing these blanket group political trials are ridiculous. The fact that they were deliberating for 26 hours, the fact that it's 4 misdemeanors, and she went in and prayed, just shows that it is political, because they could not give this lady an acquittal because it would set a precedent that would impact every other case. Chris Pruitt says, here where I see a problem with J6, I don't care what these people have done at this point. These people have had their rights taken away, just like Assange. Pardon all. Yeah, I don't agree. Not at all. But that's okay. We don't have to agree. You don't have to agree. See, when you say you want to pardon them all, what you're saying is that there are people there who did not do things that were truly against the law. And I believe those people deserve to spend time in prison because they broke the law. And I'm not talking about people who went in the building. I'm not talking people who got rowdy. I'm not talking about people who broke shit. People should be fined. They should be let go, given a misdemeanor, possible parole, move on, let them go. Those aren't the people I'm talking about. There's two ways. There's more than two ways you can feel about this. But there are people who actually broke the law, who actually are a danger to society, who wanted to see certain Democrats pay with their lives for what they considered to be treasonous behavior. That's not okay. Nope. Not at all. It's not. And if it is, then we don't give a shit about the thin blue line. If it is, we're not the party of law and order. We don't get to question. We don't get to question what progressive attorneys are doing. We don't get to question what these DAs are doing by letting people out, by not holding illegals accountable. If we're going to say that if this was the left, like BLM, that every one of them should be not held accountable and that they've served their time, there's not one person in this chat who's going to tell me that. Because there are people in jail for BLM. There are people who threw fireworks where they lost appendages, where they lost their eyesight, where they're hearing, officers who were hurt, officers with PTS, officers who no longer can work, who've retired, who've left because of the experience that they took place. Should those BLM participants who assaulted police officers and were tried and convicted, and they were, should they be set free? They did not commit murder or other crimes. They did commit crimes. What are you talking about, Chris? What do you mean they didn't commit other crimes? I didn't say they committed murder. Did I say murder? Did murder even escape my lips? Nope. Nope, but there is such thing as called attempted murder. There is also something called malice with intent. There is also a premeditated sense at attempted murder. And when you bring in zip ties and when you go ahead and have assault weapons in Virginia, and they are assault weapons, they are fully automatic weapons. They are what the military would call an assault weapon, which is a fully automatic weapon. Hold the trigger down. Brrr. And the military doesn't call them assault weapons anymore, to be clear. That shit stopped after Vietnam. But they are still fully automatic weapons. When you have texts in between talking about how they're going to kidnap and how they're going to hold these people hostage, when there were texts about killing Nancy Pelosi and Schumer, when you have an orchestrated event between two groups like the Proud Boys, like Oath Keepers, that are saying these things, why would you consider that not to be against the law? Help me understand. How much time do they have to spend before they serve their time? Whatever a jury of their peers decide, because that's the law. I've read those cases. I'm not saying that every J6er participated in it. I would say most of them didn't. But there was a very select group of people who orchestrated that event, and Ray Epps is one of them. I think Ray Epps should be in prison for 20 years. If they're going to get the Proud Boy leaders for 20 years, then you got to get Ray Epps too. Ray Epps was a part of the Oath Keepers. Ray Epps orchestrated and encouraged people to go in. We have it on film multiple times. And the fact that they didn't charge him for anything, but once the heat was applied, then they went ahead and charged, shows you right there that it was all bullshit. But see, the problem with a situation like this is you have thousands of different cases and thousands of different situations that took place that day. And to assume that they did nothing wrong or that they are completely guilty is just as bad. Because then your group mob mentality is applying that to criminal justice and the individual rights aren't considered. So either we care about the Constitution, which says that each individual right is important and paramount to our republic, that the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is inherent in all individuals, then you can't, out of both sides of your mouth, say they all are innocent or all are guilty without due process. So I vehemently disagree with you. I think that if you stood trial and you have an appeal process, and you have went to the state courts, you went to the federal court and district courts, and then ultimately, if the Supreme Court will hear your case and you've been found guilty, then that you're guilty. I'm waiting for those appeals to take place, but a lot of those cases have no grounds for appeal. Now, a lot of people say, well, they couldn't get a fair trial in D.C. Well, you can't get a fair trial anywhere. Where would be better? Tennessee? Georgia? Arkansas? Where are you going to go? You going to go to Virginia? There's Democrats everywhere. There's people, everyone's heard about J6 in one way or another. And to find an impartial jury is going to be a difficult thing. That is the job of the prosecution and the defense, is to select a jury that will be amicable and affable to their plights. And if you can't do that at the state level, the county level, the federal level, the district level, and possibly Supreme Court, then it's not the court, it's you. I really challenge people, because I challenged people last night. Have you seen all the J6 video? Have you seen the good? Have you seen the bad? Most of the people who are like, oh, those J6ers deserve to be free, have never seen one violent video ever. Not one. My point, I've already answered your question, Chris. My point was how much time. My point was I already answered you. That is dependent upon the jury and the sentencing. How much time? All of it. Every second. I think early getting out early for good behavior is bullshit. I think if you have a trial with a jury of your peers and you are found guilty and there was absolutely no malfeasance and you've went through the appeal process, you went through the appellate courts, you've went through and done everything you can, and you have done everything you can to prove your innocence, and you're still found guilty in multiple courts at multiple levels, and you have introduced no new evidence, then you serve your time. Now, does that mean that there's people who have been found to be innocent later? Of course. Is that a rarity? Yeah. Are there abnormalities in the justice system, just like there's in science and just like there's the laws of physics and sociology and biology and everything else? Of course. Does that mean that the system is inherently flawed? There are flaws in the system, but it doesn't mean it's inherently flawed. Do you trust that when you go 65 miles an hour that you're going to be treated fairly by the judicial system? The answer is, did you go 65 miles an hour in a 50? Yes, I did, but it was only 15. That doesn't matter. You broke the law. You need to pay your fine. Yeah, but that cop was parked by, I don't care. You broke the law. You just told me you went 65. You broke the fucking law. Cut and dry. Pay your fine. Take your points. Shut up. Well, I didn't go. I actually have a video camera which shows my speedometer. My speedometer has been gauged and calibrated by 2 different automotive companies. The officer was not in plain sight. The officer was hiding in some brush. I felt like it was entrapment. There was no line of sight for that officer to hit me with his laser, and didn't execute, didn't have a roof-mounted laser. And I would like the officer to please explain how he did. Well, the officer didn't show up today. Well, then I'd like the court to dismiss the charges. Dismissed. Mr. Spear, have a nice day. Guess what? You just won. See ya. Prove your innocence. Oh, you're naive. Bullshit. Because I just got arrested last year and a half ago for spanking my son on the bottom. And an entire case opened up. CPS, political attack. Absolutely. Because you want to know how I know it was? A lot of people say that. Oh, the lawyers fucked me. No. The entire CPS office was fired. All charges dismissed with extreme prejudice. That's the quote. Extreme prejudice. Prosecutor buckled like a belt. Prosecutor admitted she knew about my show. Prosecutor admitted that they went ahead and used my show and somehow applied it to the things that were said. 17 pages they took. The school board went ahead and took notes on both of my kids as the aunt and uncle were sending texts for over a year and a half to my children, brainwashing them so they could come live with them in California because they can't have kids. And this giant bullshit story came up. Am I firm? Mm-hmm. Do I discipline my kids? Mm-hmm. Am I loud? Yep. Do I abuse my kids? Nope. And none of it was proven. All of it was destroyed. I had both kids openly admit with an affidavit that what they said was false and fabricated. that the CPS workers worked to use terminology and language and groomed the kids to say things instead of spanking, say abuse session. Instead of saying that it was corrected behavior, that it was applied torture. That I have 172 guns on all levels of my house and I'm a U.S. Navy SEAL and I'll fight and shoot any cop who comes in. Does that sound true? Never claimed to be a team guy in my life. So I'm telling you, for someone who has been on the other end of this, who has been wrongfully charged and arrested and embarrassed, the detective didn't even show up to my case, to the court hearing, by the way. So I know what it's like to be targeted in an extremely liberal county, the same county that pushes transgender books on children, that have a transgender student rape 2 women in 2 different schools as it's swept under the rug. As Brandon Michon, a friend of mine who ran for state legislature, fights and argues and has a conversation, as another one, the father of that daughter, is thrown to the ground with a cut lip, embarrassed with his pants pulled down so you see his ass, and was assaulted by the police when he's speaking in a public arena in front of city council and the school board. Having the pictures of these photographs, having the bathrooms changed, having kids from a level of 11 children have died of fentanyl poisoning in this school district alone. Virginia is at the heart of this battle. And what do you think they do to people who create podcasts and call out and tag LCPS, or specifically call out the people who are responsible, like Beth Marks, who gets fired? And when Matt Walsh comes to town, cover it and put it on air and ensure that every single person in Virginia, I boost those posts so they can see and get the exposure of what these schools. What do you think the retaliation looks like for that? I know what it looks like because I went through it. So don't tell me that the system is broken, because if you know your shit and you're innocent, you can prove it. It takes money and it takes an attitude of refusing to relent and to be fierce with your convictions. I'm not saying that every single person in J6 deserves to be in prison. I didn't say anything like that. I'm not saying that anyone killed anyone that day. At all. What I'm saying, except for Ashley Babbitt getting killed, what I'm saying is there were people there that were intending to do harm and were there with premeditated assault in mind, and they were there to cause harm onto other people, and that was their plan. And what do you think would have happened if they wouldn't have shot Ashley Babbitt? What do you think they would have happened if they would have let them in? What do you think they were going to do? What do you think was going to happen? You know what was going to happen. The media pool saturates all juries across the nation. Do you think OJ got a fair trial that nobody knew what was going on with OJ? Do you think the Menendez brothers got a fair trial that they didn't know what was going on with Menendez? Do you think that when they did the conviction of Bernard Shaw, Clay Bertrand from Jim Garrison in Louisiana for the JFK assassination, that every juror didn't know that JFK was assassinated? There's no such thing as a fair trial anymore, but it's all a level playing ground. If you are innocent, you can prove your innocence. And that is what the numbers say. And there are occasions where people who go to jail who are innocent. There's no doubt it happens. But you're not going to tell me out of those 1,000, 1,200 cases in J6 that every one of them are innocent, simply because that math just doesn't fly. So the people that have been in DC jail in solitary confinement for this amount of time is wrong is just another small point. It depends. United States government can classify people as terrorists, a terrorist position and enemies of the state, and they can handle them under terrorist law and terrorist code, where habeas corpus is suspended. Do I think it's right? No, but it happens. Let me ask you a question. Were you crying about any of the terrorists in Guantanamo Bay that were held for decades? Did you cry about them? Do you want them free? Do you want the guys that when we were overseas that they don't even get a trial? Just go ahead and they fell on some bullets. You okay with that? You okay with Obama killing 264 Americans who claim loyalty and fealty to ISIS and Al-Qaeda with drone strikes, who suspended habeas corpus? Are you okay with that? See, Chris, the problem with me is that I don't have a side. And I bring up things to make sure that people's outrage is equivalent on all sides, and it never is. See, I think the suspension of habeas corpus is against the constitutional rights, and I do believe classifying them as a terrorist, a domestic terrorist, gives them the right under the Patriot Act and other provisions to handle them as such. But I think it's absolutely abhorrent to hold somebody as a terrorist of the state or a domestic terrorist without due process. That is essentially guilty until proven innocent. You have to prove you're innocent. So no, I'm not okay with that. But it's well within the rights of the government to do so. So what are we going to do about it? Do you get my point? And no, I'm not okay with Obama killing 264 Americans overseas. Not okay with that. I don't care how big of pieces of shit they are. You should have brought them back stateside. You should have put them through a trial and then hung them. That's what you should have done publicly. Put them in Minneapolis in the Somalia district and send a real clear message. You fuck with the United States, you're going to get hung. That would be better. But that's not what happened. I'm not disagreeing with you that our judicial system has issues. I'm not disagreeing with you that the way that some of the J6ers have been handled. I just told you about one, this lady, Rebecca Lorenz, who should be taken care of wholeheartedly. I want her legal fees paid. I hope you guys donate a shit ton of money. Hell, it's my birthday, and I'm not even asking for donations. I want you to give them to her. But what I'm not going to do is go ahead and defend some of these guys who wanted to kill legislators and had plans to do so. And if they would have breached those corridors, they would have. You know they would have, because that's what they said they were going to do. No matter how much they said. And here's the other thing. Why are you defending people who turncoated on Donald Trump and are blaming him for this? Those are the same. Every one of those guys to a man flipped on Donald Trump and completely said it's his fault. Speaking of Donald Trump, why isn't Donald Trump paying for Rebecca Lorenz legal fund? Can you answer me that? Why didn't Donald Trump, when leaving office, write an executive order and go ahead and write pardons for every person involved in J6? Why didn't he do that? Why isn't Donald Trump selling sneakers and Bibles for the J6ers? Help me understand. Okay. So the hypocrisy is not just on one side. We have to ask the question on all sides. If all of these J6ers are innocent, which you said they're not now, and now you've agreed that there are some that are extremely guilty for what they did, and there's a lot of them who don't deserve anything more than a misdemeanor. But when you go ahead and commit what they committed against the government, what do you think we would do if a foreign government executed something like J6? What do you think we would do? We would go to war with that country. It would be an act of war, and we would invade that country and bomb the shit out of that country. We would hit all their command control. We would sink their navy. We would take out their bombers, and we would immediately eradicate them from the planet. Why do you expect the U.S. government to respond in any other way than domestically? Because in the Constitution of the United States, I will defend this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. There's no quarter there. It's treat them all the same. Why would you expect the U.S. government, who has responded in totalitarian rule throughout its life, would all of a sudden treat its citizens in any different way when they consider them to be treasonous or enemies of the state? It's not a shock to me. That's why I told my listeners not to go down there that night. I had two Secret Service agents, one Secret Service agent and two Capitol Police reach out to me live that night, and I was on the phone. Everyone remembers that show. January 5th, and I was on here, and I was talking to two people who were going down there that night, and I get a text, and they were watching my show, and they said, dude, tell those people not to come down here tonight. We're going to have MARSOC on the roof. We're going to have full snipers on the roof. We're going to have National Guard on standby. There's rumors that it might get out of hand, that BLM's going to get involved, Antifa's going to get involved, that there's people down here from Trump's side who are ready to go live, and we're afraid that they're going to turn the rally into something else. They weren't afraid of a J6 happening and them going into the Capitol. They were afraid of Antifa or BLM outside creating an event in the rally that ultimately would turn hostile with J6ers fighting BLM and Antifa and anyone else. That's what their concern was. So my question to you is why? Why did people go in? And that's really what it comes down to. I don't care how intoxicating Ray Epps is. I don't care how convincing he is. I don't care. It could be the most charming son of a bitch in the world. The moment that says, hey, come on, we're going to go rob this bank is where I say, go fuck yourself. I'm out of here. Nobody can convince any of those people on J6 to do what they did. It was their choice, and they made a bad choice. They know the difference between right and wrong. They knew it was wrong, and they went in anyway. Those people should be held accountable for that. I don't blame people for their actions. I expect them to be held accountable for them and to take account for them. That's it. Yep, it's unreal. I was on the mail that day. No one was violent to it. No one was even remotely close to it. I was working in D.C. at the time. I talked with one federal officer who said this. This is more find out unless I want to know. We had an interesting conversation about it. No one was violent. That's not true. I've got video that absolutely just blows that apart. I'll show you a video right now. It's the same thing I said last night. And the lady openly admitted, who was arguing with me, she goes, I haven't seen any video of J6. I don't watch the media. I haven't seen anything. All I've seen from Fox News is the peaceful protest. If you want, I'll go ahead and get you what happened before Ashley Babbitt. And I guarantee it changes your mind. It's changed a lot of people's mind because people haven't seen this video. A lot of people are only spoon-fed what Fox shows, and they don't show the violent parts of J6. And there were violent parts of J6. No one's going to tell me it wasn't a peaceful protest. Give me a fucking break. That's a BLM line. Mostly peaceful. No. 57,000 people did absolutely nothing but go there and leave. 3,000 people got stupid and went on the stairs and climbed over like monkeys and went into the Capitol building and set off fire extinguishers and did stupid shit, or they just sat in there, or they took photos, or they stole Nancy Pelosi's laptop. And about 150 in the stairwell and on top of the stairwell went there to hurt people with zip ties and were violent and threatened the cops and smashed the doors in with motorcycle helmets, got in the cops' face, spit in their face, told them they weren't there for them, that they're not the ones that they were after, and that people were going to die that day and they didn't get the fuck out of the way. They were going to be included. Don't tell me there wasn't violence that day. Of course there was. But most of it was done in the interior, and a lot of the things that took place were on one side of the Capitol or the other. And there was one side that was very amicable, where people were filing in and the Capitol Police let people in. On the other side, people were pulling down gates, smashing cops in the doors, hitting them with flagpoles, and generally trying to force their way in and smash in and say horrible shit and do horrible shit. There were many different stories that day. That's why we handle people on an individual basis and not collectively. Anything else? Are you going to be on air? Yeah, we'll be on air at 7 o'clock. Oh, Rob says, learn the facts. Oh, I always love these. Here it comes. This was a complete setup. Listen carefully to what the chief of the Capitol Police Department said and his replacement. She's now working in a very high-paying job at Nancy Pelosi. So what? In fact, Trump asked for he can't ask for he has to sign a declaration for that. You can't just randomly step in the office and go, I want the National Guard. National Guard is at the whim of the president as the commander-in-chief, but it's under the mayor of D.C. It's also under Capitol Police, and it also holds into the speakership. You have to request it. Mark Meadows didn't request it. His form was simply asking a question about the National Guard and did they feel that it was needed. It was not a formal request. There is no formal request. There's no piece of paper that shows it. There's no document to back up what you just said, and it's absolutely 100% unequivocally false. The only thing that's true is that supposedly Donald Trump said, oh, I want 15 or 10,000 National Guards people. That is not the way it's done. And there is a formal declaration that needs to take place to activate the National Guard. The National Guard was there, by the way. There were over 1,000 troops that were there. They were in the parking garages, and they were staying there for multiple nights. That's why the response of the National Guard was actually fairly fast. By 4:30, they had them in place. By 3:30, they were en route. And they were there with non-loaded weapons at 5 when I went by and I spoke to the National Guard, who were stopping people on all major and reroutes and moving them away from the Capitol. So it's not true. National Guard was there. They were not there at the beginning of the early parts of it, though. That's the issue. I always love when, fact, Trump asked for National Guard troops to be there that day. Bowser and Pelosi said no. That's not true. Show me the document. Show me the formal request that's not Mark Meadows and ultimately the one other guy, I can't remember his name, that wrote a letter asking if the National Guard was necessary. That's not a formal request for the National Guard. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. To say it's a setup, so what you're saying is that mind control devices were used? Is that what happened? Is that they controlled the minds of all those people to do that? They forced them to do it? Because I don't care how much of a setup it was. Why did they go in? Why did they have zip ties? Why did they have bags of zip ties? Why were they moving and scattering around the Congress and going through the antechambers looking for people to take as hostages? Why were some taking the computer of Pelosi or sitting and taking photographs? Why were some doing things that were completely benign and innocent and other people had obvious intent? Have you ever thought that there was a group of people who were involved that were there to create as much animosity, as much anger as possible as a cover to slip in and actually go and do what the initial thoughts were, is what they said in text messages, what they sent through group chats, what they sent through various communication devices like WhatsApp, what they sent through Snapchat? When they went ahead and made communication between the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys and other groups and militant groups. See, the problem is that when we sit here and say it was a setup, what you're saying is that you're okay with what happened. Why don't you start off the conversation by saying that we completely disavow anything that happened with J6 and it was not a Republican or Donald Trump initiative? Maybe we should start there, don't you think? But we never hear that. You know what we hear? Inside job, just like 9/11. But you don't have any facts to that. FBI was there that day. Prove it. Because until we actually get Clay to openly say that and to admit that on the stand and get the release of which agents were there that day, and we know that there were agents there that day, right? We absolutely know that for sure, yet we don't. Antifa was there, Matt. I saw a video with Antifa getting off a bus. I saw the same video. There's no doubt that there were Antifa people there. There's no doubt that there were people dressed up as Trump supporters. That still doesn't change the fact that why did they go in? The moment that gates were being torn down, the moment that pepper spray was released, the moment those cops stood with riot shields and batons and said, no, you shall not fucking pass, why did you continue? The moment that you went in there and there were Capitol Police saying you have to get out and holding the doors, and you proceeded to smash their heads into the door or hit them with a fire hydrant, or you went up and smashed a motorcycle helmet into a doors to get into the anteroom chambers of where they were holding the state legislature and the Senate, who were actually there that day, and the admin and the workers who were there, and you were told that this is a barricaded location with 3 armed officers standing right there who were all being threatened by 150 people, spit on, challenged, as Ashley Babbitt broke the glass and went through and was smashing glass with the others. As those 3 were threatened and told that we're not here for you, we're here for them, but you're going to get mixed up in this and you're next unless you move. What about that? Who made that happen? Was that all Antifa? The biggest travesty in history, as at least from conservatives, was that day that we were stupid enough to go in there and give the Democrats everything they needed to go ahead and excuse BLM's actions. They were able to dismiss the summer of love and everything happened with George Floyd by simply saying, yeah, but you guys went ahead and tried to overthrow the government. They're just protesting because of racial injustice. Stupid. Why can't you say that? Trump won. Show me. Not Karen saying that. She's repeating somebody else. Show me. Show me how he won. Tell me how Trump won. Break it down for me. Not while I was there, I didn't stick around for the Capitol mayhem. Well, then, Rob, if you weren't there, then what are you talking about? Would you like to see the videos? We know there was no violence where Trump gave the speech. 57,000 people were peaceful. We didn't say that. The Rock walking back his Biden. We're getting to it, James. It's a little bit of a busy morning, my friend. I love it when people... Why were the Capitol Police escorting people around like it was a tour? Why did you only watch the first part of my show? Or the last part of the show and not watch the beginning where I already addressed that? Rob, you need to watch my show, and you need to decide if I'm credible enough for you to make that investment. But I've already explained this. I've already told you. But I can't keep going over it because you came in late. We start this usually around 9, 10 o'clock. I'm now 2 hours and 15. I was on for almost 4 hours last night. It is my birthday. I'm just a little fucking burned out of talking about J6 because I've been talking about it for 3.5 years. But what I always hear is deflection. I'm not okay with what happened. Good. I'm highly suspicious that there were instigators who instigated. Well, of course there were instigators who instigated this, but there weren't players who were played to play this. I don't care how much someone instigates. Rob, you wouldn't have went in. I asked that of hundreds of people, and everyone goes, no, there's no way I would have. Not a chance. There's no way I would have hurt a cop. There's no way I would have stormed the Capitol. There's no way I would have disrespected by climbing over the marble and porcelain of that country, of our nation's capital. No, I would never. We're law and order people. Okay, then stop making excuses for the people who did. Yeah, I saw the police removing barricades, and I also saw people, J6ers, of tearing those barricades down. Why are you cherry picking the video? Why aren't you talking about all the video? Because you haven't seen it, right? You haven't seen it. If you've seen them, then why are you leaving them out conveniently? All right, let's get to it. 2 other things. Yep, happy birthday to me. Folks, if you have not had a chance, you can go to thedumshow.com, click on the donate button. It helps keep us moving forward. We need your help. We are not a paid organization. There's no media company, the RNC, the DNC. We are completely autonomous and independent of all influence. If you are interested in helping out The Dumb Show, you can go to link.tap/The Dumb Show. All of our links are there. Click on the donate or go to PayPal. Help us out. Yes, Trump 1 is here. Oh, woo. Been waiting for this person. You and this guy are both jokes, and exactly why Republicans can't come together. You're too busy tearing us down the demo way. Rhinos much? Okay. So I'm going to let you have a pass and let your emotional tirade just stand. What about law and order is Republican in name only? What about calling out the truth is Republican in name only? What about holding people accountable who did something really stupid that reflected poorly on every person who is MAGA, Donald Trump, Republican, conservative, independent, or libertarian? Please tell me, why is it wrong to call out people who did something that damaged your reputation and mine simply by association? What's rhino about that? Please tell me what's rhino about voting for a Republican every single election since I was 18 years old. What about me working on 2 Senate campaigns and 1 gubernatorial campaign in Wyoming? What is about that? What's rhino about teaching an entire police force, learning how to shoot, and also majoring in criminal justice? What's rhino about serving my country in naval intelligence? What's rhino about working in the Pentagon? What's rhino about any of that? Why do you call everyone you disagree with a rhino? See, the interesting thing, Trump won, is that you can't explain how Trump won. You just want to say it because you heard somebody that you listen to all the time say it, and you don't have the faculties to actually convey that, disseminate that information to everybody. So what you try to do is tear me down. That's called a logical fallacy. It doesn't work. I've dealt with people all the time I've been doing this, 3.5 years, who try to do that. And it's what people always go to. Next, you're going to insult my intelligence or my looks or something else. It doesn't bother me because that's all you have. You should have started off with your argument. You should have started off with contradicting my points that I've made. Instead, what you do is you do childish little things like calling me a rhino when you don't even know what a Republican is. I bet if I could ask you the 5 key principles of what a conservative is and what it's established from, you couldn't tell me. I bet if I asked you to name 10 major Republicans outside of Donald Trump and George Bush, you couldn't tell me. I bet you couldn't tell me who Charles Krauthammer is. I bet you can't tell me what classic liberalism is. I bet you can't tell me what a federalist is or an anti-federalist is. I bet you can't even tell me the fucking 10 of Bill of Rights and explain them ad nauseum. Lady, I'm not a fucking rhino. I'm a person who challenges for the truth. I don't like people who make shit up, and I don't like people who just go ahead and say things because they're uncomfortable with the truth. That's my show. You can choose to be here or not, but either way, Trump didn't win, and Trump won't win in 2024 unless we focus on what's important, which is getting out as many people to vote as we can and stop suppressing the vote by saying that it was stolen. You notice Donald Trump hasn't said shit about that in the last 4 months. And look at his numbers. They're actually pretty good. It's almost like he's listening. I wonder why. Oh. Happy birthday. Why are they still people in jail for entering the Capitol? Well, because they were, what are you talking about? Be specific. Who were convicted, or they're being people be held on trial? You understand that when they are tried under enemies of the state, that all of the constitutional protections that they have are gone. I didn't say it was right. I've already said that clearly. What I have said, and I just showed you with Rebecca Lorenz, that woman does not deserve to be in jail for a year for $200,000 for going and praying and spending 10 minutes in the Capitol doing no harm and not forcing her way in and doing anything wrong. There are plenty of people who are being held accountable for things like that, and they shouldn't be. I'm not here to defend that. What I'm telling you is you're asking me why, and I'm telling you why the government is doing it. The government is doing it because if the government does not create order, if the government allows anarchy, if the government doesn't hold true to its perceived rules and regulations and staying in line, and if the civilians don't follow that, then the government loses control. And if the government loses control, they lose power. If they lose power, they lose money and votes. And if you think the United States government is interested in how you feel and not interested in what you produce, then you're not paying attention. I'm not here to support the government's treatment of some J6 people. I'm not here to condemn the treatment of some J6 people, and I'm not here to do either for some J6 people. They are tried as individuals and not a group, and they should be handled as such. And today I have pointed out some that they deserve to be in prison, and then I've pointed out some that don't deserve to be in prison. And that is the way that every single thing with J6 should be handled, on the individual basis, period. That's it. There's your answer. Does DC have different ways than state laws? No, they have to follow the Constitution. They have to follow the state's Constitution, but there's a difference between federal and district courts. And it is a district. It's not a state. So it does not have a state constitution. It follows the federal Constitution. No, don't ban anybody. Why would you guys ban anybody? Don't ban anybody. Just because, yes, Trump won is here, who cares? They can say whatever they want. Here, let me read what they said. And then we're going to answer about Taiwan, and then I'm going to go, because it's been a long day. Oh, everybody put in yes, Trump won. Wow. So this person's is a longtime watcher, or somebody who was banned, huh? So this is someone who's been here before. Still controlling the keyboard, I see. What the fuck? Only juvenile reaction is you believing everything you're told. Brainwashing at its finest. It says somebody who believes that Trump won and believes everything that they've been told. So here I am challenging what you've been told, and then you accuse people of believing everything that they've been told on a show that is challenging what they've been told. Yeah, what's the color in your batshit cave? Yes, Trump one says, I watched, and I'm smart enough to see what happened, and the ones in jail that I watched let in by the cops that did nothing but walked around yet went to jail. Then I saw the fakes that did everything they could to make patriots look bad that aren't in jail. So your research, I'm not, first of all, why do all you bots use ellipses? What is your problem with using a period? Why is one period so fascist for you that you have to use the 3-dot ellipsis? I just don't understand. Do you know what the ellipsis is for? It's not a never-ending condom. It's not a never-ending gobstopper from Willy Wonka. It's not something you get to reuse over and over and over and extend a sentence. It's still a run-on. Use a period, for God's sakes. What is up with you bots using the 3 dots? So your research, I always love that, research, but I can't tell you any of the research that I have. I'm not saying some didn't get stupid and follow blindly, but they were led by fakes. So okay, so this is what you believe. You believe that people shouldn't be held accountable if they break the law because they followed other people. So you don't believe in accessory to murder, huh? You don't believe accessory in any criminality or fashion. Is that what you're telling me? Yeah. So Uma Aberdeen for Hillary Clinton, she doesn't deserve to be held accountable for the server setup. James Comey doesn't need to be an accessory to Hillary Clinton not being charged. Should Barack Obama be held because he didn't actually sign the FISA warrant, but he knew about the spying of Trump's campaign? Should he be set free because he's an accessory? Because he was just following the group? What about the pallets full of cash to Iran? Do you think people who did that, you think Uranium One, Hillary Clinton should be held accountable even though she didn't deliver it? That it was actually the State Department that delivered it? Do you think she should be held accountable? Do you think Joe Biden should be held accountable because it wasn't actually him that it was the Taliban that was the lax of security and allowed terrorists to come in to kill 13 veterans? Do you think Joe Biden should be held accountable because, he's just following the lead? Do you think everyone at BLM, only the one person who was there who was going to be tagged with the riot, everyone else should just not be an accessory? Anyone who burned down auto zones or anyone who burned down businesses or attacked federal property or went after police or the Antifa who burned down the Atlanta training grounds in Georgia, that only one person who actually threw the Molotov cocktail, but the other 40 people who were there, they should all be let go because they were accessories and they were following the leader? Yeah, you're not very good at this. You need to watch my show more. I am much better than you. Because that felt good. It felt really good. Your logic isn't logical. Your logic is emotional, and it's basically biased in what you believe. You're not listening. Oh, God. All right, let's get to... Democrats cheated legally. Is that what somebody said? That's close enough. Rob Lance, welcome to Dumb Nation. Have fun and be respectful. Very good. I've never watched your show before, usually working when you're on. I'm impressed with your character. Keep up the good work. I like you too, Rob. You're a good guy. No problem with you. Thanks for challenging me a little bit. I hope you come on and watch the show more. Welcome to our little soiree here. Did Trump one leave after I just laid a 1,000-pound safe on her? Nope. She's gone. Go figure. Guess she didn't like logic. Give me a break. Accessory to murder. All right, I got to go sometime. Son of a gun. All right, fast topics. We got to cover these last two. Sorry, everybody. I know sometimes we go on a tangent. I go on a tangent. All bookmarks. Here is John Kirby. And John Kirby is going to say that we are no longer recognizing the independence.
In their call the other day, and if so, it was President Biden's.
We're no longer recognizing the independence of Taiwan. Listen to this shit.
Reportedly told President Biden during their summit in San Francisco that Beijing plans to reunify Taiwan with mainland China. Did the Chinese leader bring up similar sentiment in their call the other day? And if so, what was President Biden's response?
Certainly Taiwan came up in the context of the call. There's not a single discussion that we don't have with senior leaders in the PRC where we don't talk about Taiwan. Of course it came up. I won't characterize President Xi's comments, but I can tell you that President Biden was very, very clear that nothing's changed about our one China policy. We don't support independence for Taiwan. That nothing's changed about our one China policy. We don't support independence for Taiwan, but that nothing's changed about our one China policy. We don't support independence for Taiwan, but we also that nothing's changed about our one China policy. We don't support independence for Taiwan, but we also don't want to see the status quo changed in a unilateral way, and certainly not by force.
Holy shit. Talk about skirting the fucking issue. No offense. Sorry for those people who don't like cussing. Listen, I was on for 4.5 hours. I'm pushing 3 now. I'm a little tired. Hi, Olivia. Where's Olivia? Where's the wife? She pop in here? Let me explain something. And I'm going to try to make this as clear as possible for everybody. I was in the Taiwanese Straits. I've been to Taiwan. I was in Hong Kong for the Chinese takeover. 95, 96, Chinese rule left English rule, and Hong Kong rule left English rule and was transferred back over to China according to the 50-year agreement. It fell back under communism. I was there on the docks when Hong Kong people were looking at us and begging us to take them on the ship and bring them to the United States. I saw their eyes as we knew that people were going to be rounded up, doctors, teachers, lawyers, philanthropists, philosophers were going to be taken and sent to mainland China for re-education. We knew the things that were going to take place. We saw the celebratory flags of Hong Kong being torn down. We saw that flags of the original green Taiwanese flag being torn down in Hong Kong. We knew what was happening, and we ran security forces for that transfer. Taiwan is a beautiful country, very similar to Hong Kong, gorgeous, metropolis personified, technology, well lit, beautiful, clean, and fun. The semiconductor game is hands down, single-handedly, the most important thing that the U.S. has for national security. And let me explain why. Taiwanese Semiconductor single-handedly is the biggest chip manufacturer in the world. And they produce over 60% of the TSM inside, or the SM market for the world. They are purchased by Samsung, by Toshiba, by Sony, by Apple, by Microsoft, everywhere. Every single company. Now, they are trying to get ahead of the semiconductor game, and they're trying to build plants in the United States, and they're trying to invest money into infrastructure to make these a staple, but it's non-sustainable. It's just like the pharmaceutical industry with China. We are so dependent on pharmaceuticals and a lot of our retail products that we can't cut free from China for at least another decade. If Taiwan falls and the semiconductor game is played where China takes over Taiwan, not only are they going to solve their energy issues because they're going to have an independently large amount of money that's sustainable, they will run and control the semiconductor market, which is in all your EV vehicles, all your current vehicles, in your refrigerator, in your iPads, in your phones, in your computers, in your thermostats, blah, 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 blah. Semiconductors are everywhere. And the reason why we saw such a huge drop in PlayStations, in refrigerators, in vacuum cleaners, in Roombas during COVID is because the production of semiconductors waned heavily. And there was a decrease in productivity. If China takes over Taiwan, you will see Apple crumble. You will see Microsoft crumble. You will see the NASDAQ take a plunge that you will never seen before. You will see a Great Depression and a sell-off like never before. One of the biggest mistakes that they ever made was putting Apple in the NASDAQ. And yes, they did replace several other oil companies, but the overall valuation of Apple since then is surpassing 150 of the other top companies on the NASDAQ. Apple exceeds their overall valuation. If Apple has a bad quarter, the economy crumbles. If all 150 of those other companies have a bad quarter, we shrug it off and we take a loss. Taiwan from an economic standpoint and a strategic standpoint, also opens up essentially Japan falling to China. If you already have Hong Kong, you take Taiwan, you then have a strategic advantage to launch an invasion into Japan if you want to. China and Japan have been at war and at odds more than they've been at peace throughout their history. Japan is a critical part in the South Pacific for a few reasons. One is that we have naval bases there that allows us to impact the eastern side of China, the eastern side of Russia, North Korea, and South Korea. And it keeps an eye on protecting the shipping lanes through Australia, through New Zealand, Malaysia, Sumatra, etc., and the French Polynesian Islands. If you make the mistake of allowing China to take Taiwan, you are going to lose the South Pacific. If you lose the South Pacific, if you think them going around the Cape is a problem right now because of what's happening with the Red Sea and Yemen and the Houthis, imagine what would happen if you can no longer go through the South Pacific to reach the North Pacific. What happens if you can't actually circumnavigate the globe because Chinese rule from Australia all the way to mainland China? If you think that Chinese don't have Australia as a target, you haven't looked at world history, and all you have to do is look at what Japan did when they attacked Pearl Harbor. They also went and invaded 13 other countries at the same exact time. It wasn't just the United States. They expanded their grip to control shipping lanes and to make sure that their naval units were the most dominant in the region, which limited the United States' capability to fund two continent wars. This is what China wants to do. And if we allow them to do that, you're ultimately giving up strategic positions that we will never get back. The fact that they could put bases on mainland Australia, the fact that they could put bases on French Polynesian Islands, Malaysia, Sumatra, etc., gives the Chinese an extension of their naval units that we are not going to be able to amend once it takes place. You have to protect Taiwan. I'm not encouraging war. Why are we supporting Ukraine and not supporting Taiwan? Right. Yeah, I believe you. If Biden is reelected, Taiwan falls. Yes, I completely agree with you. We cannot allow Taiwan to fall. That is where we draw the line. And it's really not even Taiwan so much as it's Japan. We absolutely need... What? Is Olivia here, guys and girls? Yes, I read that Biden canceled replenishing the oil reserve. Good. So he's not going to buy it at 90 cents a barrel. That's smart. Even though everyone told him when he went ahead and used 300 million barrels that he wasn't going to be able to go ahead and get it for that price ever again. It's not a surprise to anyone. I've already sealed it up. Taiwan needs to be protected at all costs. I'm not for forever wars, but I don't care. If China tries to invade Taiwan, the United States needs to be there. And we need to release our full carrier group on them. And we need to put our ships right in between the Taiwanese Straits and China. That way they do not launch anything. It is going to be a very difficult battle. And I want you to consider that traversing... Hayden, are you leaving? I love you. Sorry, but I didn't get coffee for you. Love you, babe. So... I want you to look at Normandy and look at the English Channel, and I want you to look at the assault that took place. What China would have to do would have to be an incredible assault, amphibious assault to get into Taiwan. They don't have the capabilities of doing that. The United States would need to put carriers on the north of Taiwan and the south of Taiwan to quash any type of Chinese involvement. China is desperate. They're desperate for energy. They're desperate for world dominance from an economic standpoint. They do not want to take over the world. There's the difference. Put the United States on there and watch what China does. China ain't going to do shit. But if we don't support them, but you hear how he talks out of the side of his mouth, sits there and says, yeah, we don't want to go ahead and recognize the independence of Taiwan, but we also don't want anyone to go ahead and take over Taiwan. You can't have it both ways, Jack. John Kirby. He shares the name of the Kirby vacuum cleaner, and that's because he sucks. The Rock.
Happy with the state of America?
Am I happy with the state of America right now? Well, that answer is no. Do I believe we're going to get better? I believe in that. I'm an optimistic guy, and I believe we can get better. The endorsement that I made years ago with Biden was one I thought was the best decision for me at that time. And I thought back then, when we talk about, hey, I'm in this position where I have some influence, and it's my job then. I felt like that then. It's my job now to exercise my influence and share with this is who I'm going to endorse. Am I going to do that again this year? That answer is no.
You made that endorsement in 2020. Are you happy with?
Here is what I'll say. Yes, they that's absolutely what they said, that they will not support Taiwan. Here's what I'll say about The Rock. I've had a chance to build that guy a flag with flags of valor, and I got to stand there and watch Brian work his magic. I didn't do much. We put the Brahma Bowl on. I got to see that delivered. A cool experience. I like The Rock. I think he is a talented guy. I like his movies. I loved him in Fast and Furious, even though him and Diesel didn't get along and they threw temper tantrums and shit. I love the Jumanjis. I think they're great. I loved him in Moana. And that's where it stops. The only reason that you're not endorsing a president is because you know you can't endorse Joe Biden because you think he's a piece of shit and you're too much of a coward to endorse Donald Trump, even though you know that's what you're saying. By not endorsing Biden, you're endorsing Trump. Because he could have endorsed Jill Stein. He could have went ahead and done RFK. He could have done the local Samoan Asian Islander Pacific Party candidate. No, you just fucking cowered it up. You put on your Malcolm X glasses. You covered up your muscles. You never cover up your muscles. You kind of look reserved. You kind of look not as energetic and passionate as you were when you trounced all over Trump and supported Biden, and you and Oprah went out and raised money for Maui and all that shit. You kind of look low key, man. And I think it's cowardly. How about you do this? I made a mistake by endorsing Biden. I think it was wrong for the country. And although I don't agree with Donald Trump, I can't in good conscience defend Joe Biden's policy anymore. And I hope you consider that when you vote. Here is a candidate who I think is going to do a good job. This is who I would recommend voting for and who I'm going to put myself behind. What you did is you just rode the fence. Here, I'll do it for you. I support Donald Trump because a Joe Biden presidency is bad for the United States. It's bad for us geopolitically. It's bad for our securing our border. It's bad for our sovereignty. It's bad for our identity. It's bad for a nationalist society, which we should be. We should be patriotic. We should care about this country. DEI is going to erode this country into racial division that will ultimately bring us to a civil war if we do not stop this shit in the workplace, in our churches, in our schools, in our children's lives, and every decision we make. I will vote for Donald Trump because I know he's for the Constitution. And every time that you guys say he's a threat to democracy, you're really just projecting your own bullshit, because there's only one who's trying to censor speech are the Democrats. The only one who's trying to go ahead and take guns away are the Democrats. The only ones who have amended 9 of the original Bill of Rights, and the only one that isn't is Amendment 3, which is quartering of troops, are the Democrats. So don't sit here and tell me that you're going to ride the fence and we're supposed to not read between the lines. I disagree with The Rock on this. I disagree with his stance, and I think it's chicken shit. If you're going to get into the political fray, you don't get to bow out when your decision was a bad one. You should take ownership, take responsibility, and own it. He didn't do that. He just passed the buck and said, I'm not going to vote for Biden. But didn't say anyone else that you should vote for. It's pretty chicken shit. Folks, that's it. I've got to go celebrate my birthday. If you have not had a chance, please do me a favor. Could you go and help out? It is just a request. We only work on donations here and the ads that you see on Facebook. We sell some product like the Red Friday shirt, Don't Unfriend Me clothes, hats, shirts, coffee, all that type of stuff. You can get that over at thedumshow.com if you want to support the show. There is a whole bunch of cool shirts over there. Just go over, click the shop, and go shopping. You can also go to linktapgo/thedumshow or hit donate on the page, and you can tip the show, you can donate to the show, help out, Every single dollar helps us. We are at 189,919 followers. We're looking to get to 190 today for the old birthday. Thanks for watching. We'll be back at 7 o'clock. And I appreciate everything you guys have done for the show in the last 3.5 years. God bless. We will talk to you at 7 o'clock tonight. See ya.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me Show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, Olivia, and Mike. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live.
Hey, and throw some birthday likes before you leave, please. If you take off the show, get us over 100. Everybody go out there and like, please. Thank you.
Live on the Spreely.tv network and all major social media channels at The DUM Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.